Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. The package sat innocently on Owen's doorstep, a plain brown box with no return address. He picked it up, surprised by its lightness, and carried it inside his modest apartment. The sound of traffic filtered through the windows as he set the box on his kitchen counter. "What could this be?" Owen muttered, running a hand through his short brown hair. He hadn't ordered anything recently. With a mix of curiosity and caution, he carefully opened the package. Inside was a single photograph, face down. Owen's brow furrowed as he lifted the glossy paper. His breath caught as he turned it over. The image showed a stunningly beautiful woman with long chestnut hair and piercing green eyes. She wore a form-fitting red dress that accentuated her curves. There was something alluring yet mysterious about her expression. Owen felt a strange pull as he stared at the photo. His heart raced and his palms grew sweaty. Without thinking, he brought the picture closer, inhaling deeply as if he could catch her scent. A tingling sensation spread through his body, starting at his fingertips and racing up his arms. Owen gasped, nearly dropping the photo. The room began to spin around him. "What's happening?" he choked out, stumbling backwards. His skin felt like it was on fire. Owen clutched at his chest, which suddenly felt tight and constricted. He looked down in shock to see his body changing before his eyes. His frame became smaller, more delicate. Long chestnut hair spilled over his shoulders. Owen let out a cry, but his voice came out higher, softer. She staggered to the bathroom mirror. The face that stared back was unmistakably feminine, with full lips and high cheekbones. It was the face from the photograph. She touched her cheek in disbelief. "How is this possible?" Her gaze fell to the photo still clutched in her hand. But instead of the mysterious woman, it now showed Owen's former male self. With trembling fingers, she tore the picture into pieces, letting them flutter to the floor. A smile played at her lips as she looked back at her reflection. "Well," she said softly, "this is certainly going to take some getting used to." She ran her hands down her new body, marveling at the softness of her skin and the swell of her breasts. Her mind reeled, trying to process what had just occurred. "I need to sit down," she murmured, making her way back to the living room on unsteady legs. She sank onto the couch, her new curves fitting differently against the cushions. As the initial shock began to fade, a million questions raced through her mind. How had this happened? Was it permanent? Who had sent the package and why? She looked around her apartment, seeing it with new eyes. Everything seemed slightly off, as if the proportions had changed along with her body. Her clothes hung loosely on her smaller frame. She would need an entirely new wardrobe. The thought both excited and overwhelmed her. One step at a time, she told herself, taking a deep breath. First things first, she needed a name. Owen certainly wouldn't do anymore. She pondered for a moment before settling on Olivia. It felt right, a nod to her former self while embracing her new identity. Olivia stood, getting used to her new center of gravity. She made her way to the bedroom, rifling through her closet for anything that might fit. Most of her clothes were comically large now, but she managed to find an old t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants with a drawstring waist. As she changed, she couldn't help but explore her new body. Every touch sent shivers down her spine. It was foreign, yet familiar, as if she'd always been meant to inhabit this form. Once dressed, Olivia returned to the living room and picked up her phone. She hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. Who could she possibly call? How would she explain this? She set the phone down, deciding it was best to wait until she had a better grasp on the situation. Instead, she turned on the TV, needing a distraction from the whirlwind of thoughts in her head. As a news program droned on in the background, Olivia tried to piece together what had happened. The photograph had clearly been magical, but where had it come from? And why her? She remembered the feeling of inhaling deeply as she held the photo. It was as if she'd breathed in the essence of the woman in the picture, allowing it to transform her. But why send such a powerful artifact through the mail? It seemed incredibly risky. Unless the sender had known exactly who would receive it. Olivia's mind raced with possibilities. Was this some kind of experiment? A prank gone horribly wrong? Or perhaps it was meant as a gift, albeit an extremely unconventional one. As the day wore on, Olivia found herself growing more comfortable in her new skin. The initial panic had subsided, replaced by a sense of curiosity and even excitement. She practiced walking in her new body, getting used to the sway of her hips and the bounce of her breasts. Her movements became more fluid and natural as the hours passed. As evening approached, Olivia's stomach growled, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since the transformation. She made her way to the kitchen, opening the fridge and surveying its contents. Nothing appealed to her. Her tastes seemed to have changed along with her body. With a sigh, she closed the fridge and picked up her phone again. "Might as well embrace this," she muttered, pulling up a food delivery app. She ordered a salad and a smoothie, food she'd rarely craved before. While waiting for her dinner to arrive, Olivia decided to do some research. She opened her laptop and began searching for any information on magical transformations or gender-changing artifacts. Most of what she found was clearly fiction or conspiracy theories. Nothing seemed to match her experience exactly. Still, she bookmarked a few pages that seemed potentially useful. A knock at the door startled her out of her research. For a moment, she panicked, remembering her changed appearance, but it was just the delivery driver. Taking a deep breath, Olivia answered the door. The driver, a young man, did a double take, but quickly recovered. Delivery for Owen," he said, glancing at his phone. Olivia smiled, trying to appear casual. "That's me. Well, it's Olivia now. Long story." The driver nodded, clearly confused but not wanting to pry. "Right. Well, here's your order. Have a good night." As Olivia closed the door, she couldn't help but laugh. If only he knew just how long that story really was. She sat down to eat her dinner, surprised by how much she enjoyed the fresh, light flavors. It was as if her entire palate had been reset along with her body. As she ate, Olivia considered her next steps. She couldn't hide in her apartment forever. Eventually, she'd have to face the world as her new self. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. She had been given a chance to start over, to reinvent herself completely. It was an opportunity few people ever got. But with that opportunity came challenges. How would she explain her transformation to friends and family? What about her job? Her entire life would need to be rebuilt from the ground up. Olivia finished her meal and cleaned up, marveling at how such simple tasks felt different in her new body. Even the way she held things had changed, her smaller hands requiring adjustments. As night fell, exhaustion began to set in. The day's events had taken their toll, both physically and emotionally. Olivia made her way to the bedroom, ready to collapse. She paused at the threshold, suddenly aware of a new problem. None of her pajamas would fit anymore. With a sigh, she settled for another oversized t-shirt, making a mental note to go shopping as soon as possible. Crawling into bed, Olivia was struck by how different it felt. The mattress seemed firmer against her softer body, the blankets heavier on her smaller frame. She lay awake for a long time, staring at the ceiling and contemplating her new reality. Part of her still expected to wake up and find it had all been a dream. But as she drifted off to sleep, Olivia felt a sense of peace settle over her. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them. This was her life now, and she was determined to make the most of it. The next morning, Olivia awoke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window. For a moment, she forgot about the previous day's events. Then she shifted in bed, feeling the unfamiliar contours of her new body, and it all came rushing back. She sat up slowly, running her hands through her long hair. It would take some getting used to, but she couldn't deny that she liked the feel of it cascading down her back. Olivia made her way to the bathroom, still a bit unsteady on her feet. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, taking in every detail of her new face. It was strange how quickly she was adapting to this new reality. After a quick shower, which was an adventure in itself, learning to navigate her new body, Olivia wrapped herself in a towel and returned to the bedroom. She stood before her closet, hands on her hips, surveying the clothes that no longer fit. "Well," she said aloud, "I can't put this off any longer. Time to face the world." She managed to find an old belt, which she used to cinch a pair of jeans around her new, smaller waist. A button-down shirt, rolled up at the sleeves and tied at the waist, completed her makeshift outfit. It wasn't perfect, but it would have to do until she could buy new clothes. Olivia took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She grabbed her keys and wallet, then paused at the door. Should she try to disguise herself somehow? But no, that would only draw more attention. With a mix of nervousness and excitement, she stepped out of her apartment and into the hallway. The world seemed different from this new perspective. Everything appeared slightly larger, and she was acutely aware of the way her body moved as she walked. In the elevator, she encountered her first test, a neighbor she'd known for years. The older woman did a double take, clearly not recognizing Olivia. "Good morning," Olivia said, trying to keep her voice steady. The neighbor nodded politely, but said nothing, stealing glances at Olivia as they descended. Olivia could feel her heart racing, but she managed to maintain her composure. As she stepped out onto the street, Olivia was hit by a wave of sensory input. The city seemed louder, more vibrant. Scents she'd never noticed before wafted on the breeze. Was this how women always experienced the world, or was it just the novelty of her transformation? Her first stop was a nearby clothing store. As she browsed the racks, Olivia realized she had no idea what size she was now. She gathered an assortment of items in various sizes and headed to the fitting room. The process of trying on clothes was both frustrating and oddly enjoyable. Olivia marveled at how different fabrics felt against her softer skin, how certain cuts accentuated her new curves. By the time she was done, she had a basic wardrobe that actually fit her new body. Dressed in her new clothes, a simple sundress, and comfortable sandals, Olivia felt more confident as she continued her errands. She caught glimpses of her reflection in store windows, still startled by the beautiful woman staring back at her. As the day wore on, Olivia found herself relaxing into her new identity. She chatted with shopkeepers, navigated crowded sidewalks, and even flirted a little with a barista who complimented her dress. It was as if she'd been given a fresh start, a chance to be whoever she wanted to be. But reality couldn't be held at bay forever. As afternoon turned to evening, Olivia knew she had to start dealing with the practical aspects of her transformation. She found a quiet cafe and settled in with her laptop, ready to tackle the mountain of administrative tasks ahead of her. First on the list was her job. Olivia worked as a graphic designer for a small advertising firm. How could she possibly explain this situation to her boss? After much deliberation, she decided on a partial truth. She composed an email explaining that she was going through some personal changes and would need to work remotely for a while. It wasn't ideal, but it would buy her some time. Next came the even more daunting task of contacting her family. Olivia's finger hovered over her mother's number in her phone. How could she possibly explain this? Would they even believe her? In the end, she decided to put it off for another day. She needed more time to figure out how to approach such a delicate conversation. As the cafe began to close, Olivia packed up her things and headed home. The city had transformed in the fading light, taking on a softer, more mysterious quality. She found herself noticing details she'd never paid attention to before. The way the streetlights cast long shadows, the laughter spilling out of bustling restaurants, the gentle rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. Back in her apartment, Olivia felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She'd survived her first day as a woman in the outside world. It hadn't been easy, but it also hadn't been as terrifying as she'd feared. As she got ready for bed, Olivia caught sight of herself in the full-length mirror. She paused, really looking at herself for the first time since the transformation. The woman staring back at her was beautiful, yes, but she was also strong, determined, and uniquely herself. Olivia smiled at her reflection. "We've got this," she said softly. She crawled into bed, her mind already racing with plans for the days ahead. There was still so much to figure out, so many challenges to face. But for the first time since her transformation, Olivia felt truly excited about the future. As she drifted off to sleep, she couldn't help but wonder what other surprises life might have in store for her. One thing was certain: she was ready to face them head-on. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity as Olivia adjusted to her new life. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges, but she tackled them with growing confidence. Her job proved to be one of the easier transitions. Working remotely allowed her to maintain her professional life while she figured out how to explain her situation. Her colleagues noticed a change in her design style, softer, more intuitive, but chalked it up to artistic growth. Dealing with her family and friends was far more complicated. Olivia spent hours agonizing over how to break the news. In the end, she decided to start with her best friend, Emma. They met at a quiet park, away from prying eyes. Emma's jaw dropped when she saw Olivia approach. "Owen!" she gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. Olivia nodded, a nervous smile on her face. "It's me, Em. Though it's Olivia now. I know this is a lot to take in." To her surprise and relief, Emma listened without judgment as Olivia explained what had happened. When she finished, Emma reached out and squeezed her hand. "I don't pretend to understand all this," Emma said. "But you're my best friend, no matter what you look like. We'll figure this out together." Tears welled up in Olivia's eyes. Having Emma's support meant more than she could express. Emboldened by this success, Olivia gradually reached out to other close friends. While reactions varied from shock to confusion to tentative acceptance, she was relieved to find that true friendships withstood even this extreme test. Her family was another matter entirely. Olivia decided to tell them in person, arranging a visit to her parents' home. The conversation was long and emotional, filled with tears and questions she couldn't fully answer. But in the end, their love for their child won out over their bewilderment. "You're still our child," her mother said, hugging her tightly. "We may not understand, but we love you no matter what." As weeks turned into months, Olivia found herself settling into her new life. She developed new routines, made new friends, and even started dating. It was a strange experience, navigating romantic relationships from this new perspective, but she found it exhilarating. Through it all, Olivia never forgot the mysterious circumstances that had led to her transformation. She continued to research, seeking any information about magical artifacts or similar transformations, but concrete answers remained elusive. One day, about 6 months after her transformation, Olivia received another unmarked package. Her heart raced as she opened it, half expecting another life-altering photograph. Instead, she found a simple note. The handwriting was elegant and unfamiliar. "My dear Olivia, I hope this finds you well and thriving in your new life. Know that you were chosen for a reason. The gift you received is rare and precious. Use it wisely, and may it bring you the joy and fulfillment you deserve. With warmest regards, a friend." Olivia read the note several times, her mind spinning with questions. Who was this mysterious benefactor? Why had she been chosen? And what did it mean to use her gift wisely? She tucked the note away in a safe place, knowing that someday she might find the answers. But for now, she was content with the life she had built. As she looked out her window at the city below, Olivia felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey hadn't been easy, but she wouldn't trade it for anything. She had discovered strengths she never knew she possessed, forged deeper connections with those who truly cared for her, and found a sense of self that felt more authentic than ever before. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever mysteries remained unsolved, Olivia knew she was ready to face them. She had been given a second chance at life, a fresh start in a new body, and she intended to make the most of every moment. With a smile, she turned away from the window and picked up her sketch pad. There were designs to create, friends to meet, and a whole world to explore, all through new eyes. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.